Welcome to Business Mentorship Keeping It Real, where we introduce corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and participate with their great idea in our guest blog found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest joins us from San Francisco, California. Chynna Morgan is a trailblazer in the marketing and music industry, offering turnkey solutions with user-generated video to help brands capture testimonials and content from their customers. Let's hear how Chynna will amplify your business, driving sales to create brand advocates. It is my pleasure to introduce and welcome Chynna Morgan.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure to be with you because I reread your story this morning and you have to fill me in. How did you go from a tech and music industry sort of savvy individual doing startups to taking the leap and doing your own?
You know what, to be honest, I've always been on my own. So I went to college and I was getting my master's in healthcare management. And then I just had the idea of what if we're able to add our voice, our brands can create video experiences using their music, their sonic branding. And then I just started my own company and I've been on my own ever since.
Wow, good for so how many years, and give it I don't want to mispronounce your company name. So give us the company name and how many years you've been in business.
Okay, so my first company was called Jiff Out Loud. And that is when it was a music kiosk. So brands were able to add their music to different videos that their customers would create during events and brand activations. The pandemic happened, all events, activations are done, right?
Changed, yeah.
So I had to turn lemon into lemonade. I had to think, well, how can I provide a solution for my clients? Well, if the pandemic's here or not, they can still engage with their customers. So that's how Vidlo was born, was through the pandemic.
You know what I love is the great way that you took your idea and then you took a look at the market conditions and you made a change to find a new solution with what you've already previously been doing, because who doesn't want to hear from their customers?
Right? They're your biggest advocates, and empowering them to use their voice is the best thing you can do for your marketing, especially for your strategy, you know?
Well, hey, listen, we're all looking for content, right? I mean, everyone has social media platforms, whether it's one or two or five or however many you've chosen speaks to your demographic. So who doesn't want to have a client testimonial where they can see and hear rather than just written? I mean, the written ones are great too, but to be able to see your client, you know,
The
and their
emotion.
emotion,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah. And you
is
know
so
what?
cool.
And it saves you so much time, right? A lot of times brands take so much time of creating their own content. And then now you can just have your customers because number one, they already love you. So they want to talk about you, right? I
Sure.
always tell clients, reach out to your brand advocates. So it's not work for them. They already want to pray, sing your praises to the world already.
That's true. That's
And you
true.
save money. You save money in terms of digital marketing, in terms of creating video content. Now you're getting your biggest advocates to create content that you can use, saving time and saving your dollar, you know?
Yeah, and even and you know, everyone has a marketing strategy and a marketing plan, right?
Mhm.
And we're all learning how to make those interactive.
Mhm.
So this is a wonderful way to bring in that interactivity because you can also get comments from other clients, right?
From other climate. And you know what? The cool thing is to make it as engaging as possible. And that's also like giving them incentives. Why should they create this content for you? Are they going to be showcased on your website? Are you giving them 10% off your next service? You know, it's a win and win because they're creating this content for you, but it's to supercharge your sales. So how you
Right.
appreciate them and show them how gracious you are for taking the time to even give you a review or a video, you know?
You know what? That is such an awesome comment because give us an idea. So the folks that are interviewing and listening audience and they thought, "Oh wow, this sounds fantastic. I need to figure out how to do this." Can you
Okay.
share with them perhaps one of these wonderful promotional ideas or thank yous or recognition gifts that some of your other clients have done?
Yeah. So let's take like an e-commerce brand, for example, right? What
Mhm.
they'll do is when they ship their a package to their customer,
Client?
the
Mhm.
customer will either get a text or email campaign. Hey, let us know how excited you were to open up your package, right? So you're kind
Mhm.
of getting that excitement of them being able to enjoy your product.
Right.
Once they create the video, they'll send they will do an automated message. And thank you so much for creating your video. Get 20% off of your next order, right? So now you're driving them to buy from you again, but also they're getting something in return that makes them
Sure,
excited to buy from
sure.
you. So that's
Well,
kind of,
and the other really cool thing is that it creates almost a G with P, right? I mean, my background is marketing. So, it takes me right back to the very beginning when you're trying to promote and create brand advocates. You did, gift with purchase, you did purchase with
Mhm.
purchase, in today's day and age, you also, if you're service oriented, it gives you an opportunity to perhaps provide a copy of your book or some,
Mm.
depending on what you do, a download with some marketing tips or
Yeah.
maybe a video mastermind that you have. So
Mm.
it really marries together the product, services, and resources that you have and
Yeah.
makes a direct link with the customer.
Makes it direct, and then you're also still marketing, right? So I love the book idea, especially for like authors. It's like, thank you so much. Here's a book, and so you're still top of mind, right? As they're reading the book,
Absolutely.
you're creating that emotional connection with them, regardless. So I
Yeah.
love that
And
idea.
the other really cool thing is lots of us who are authors have not just physical copies, but digital copies. So
Mm-hmm.
what better way in a cost-effective way to engage but to send them a digital copy of something?
Hmm.
Because again, you're increasing their engagement. Who knows, you might get a testimonial on the gifts you gave them.
Listen,
Right?
that's the goal, right?
Right?
Because
Sure.
because now they've read your book and now you want to get their feedback off your book. So let us know,
Sure.
what's your favorite chapter? How did the book transform the way you thought about marketing, right? I think for brands it's really about creating those touch points that resonate. What's going to be the aha moment from your customer where you can easily capture that review and it doesn't feel like work for them. They're just so excited because they're just so excited to connect with your brand.
Yeah, I love this connectivity. I love that piece and building community that you're doing with creating raving fans. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about China, because if you've been working by yourself for a long time, there's lots and lots of us that are solopreneurs now, right? We make connections with people who are like-minded individuals. We collaborate, we come up with ways to try to help each other increase our sales, but we still work alone for most of
Mhm.
the time. So
Yeah.
give our viewing and listening audience an idea as to how that feels as an entrepreneur working alone in a digital space.
When I first started, I was really doing it by myself in terms of not reaching out for help, right? And as you start building, you realize, China, you need help. You can't do this
Yeah,
by yourself. So I really
sure.
had to learn how to outreach and form connections when I need to leverage some more knowledge of things I'm not an expert at, to build a community around myself that I can leverage when I need some support. So I think that's been my key of kind of doing it alone is having a community that I could really rely on for things that I'm not an expert in.
Oh, that's a brilliant, recommendation for folks because, we tend to think we have to do it all on our own,
Yeah,
right?
like we're superwoman, right? Oh, I don't need any help. And it's like you'll
Right.
learn the power of asking for help, and it's more powerful than you doing it by yourself.
That is so true because you can leverage the skills and experience of your colleagues, and
Yeah.
then there's reciprocity there, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we talk about the give get. So, I'll help you with this, but geez, I had no idea you could help me with that,
Mhm, mhm.
right?
And that doesn't
So
even like it's just like a it goes back and forth and
it's
it's just like a great
natural.
flow. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
natural.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
if for folks who are, there may be some younger folks who are listening to our video and they're thinking, wow, you made quite a pivot from your business, the educational component
Yeah.
into what you're doing as an entrepreneur. So give us an idea as to the skills that you feel, the transferable skills that came from your academic background into your entrepreneurial life.
Oh, that's a great question. I would say being a perfectionist in a sense. And when I say perfectionist, it's kind of like working on something and not
Mhm.
giving up until it's right, right?
Right.
Because as an entrepreneur, that's what you have to do. You're trying to perfect something until the customers are falling in love with it. And I think that's the same thing with grades. You're trying to strive to get A's until you ace
True.
the test, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll also say believing in yourself is like having the confidence that you can do it. And I think that's transferable in terms of school as well as you have to believe in what you can do on a test and and what you could bring to your professor. And I think that relates to your own company. You have to believe in what you're working on in order to bring it to life.
That's so true because if you're not passionate about what it is that you do, how are you going to translate to your customer that this is a really great idea.
Yeah, how are you going to sell it to them and you don't even believe in it yourself, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's so true.
Yeah.
Now, taking a look at the future, because I know that, you've got a wonderful idea, and I mean, it's so valuable for every small business owner, even large businesses. I mean, who doesn't
Yeah.
want customer testimonials as an example? But
Yeah.
is there a way in which you can expand your idea? Have you got things on the drawing board in the background that
You
you're
know what?
thinking that you might
I
launch?
always have something in the drawing board. What's exciting is everything happening with AI is really exciting to me. And when I say that, it's not to replace. I think what makes our company special and with the AI coming in is that we'll never replace your real customer, right? You can never take away the real video they're creating. AI will never be able to replicate the real emotion and the real video. But I
Right.
think taking elements of AI just to make it easier for our customers to create content, to connect more with their audience easily, is something that we're working on. I think we have some exciting features coming up. So that's what I'm most
Well,
excited
that's
about.
and you know what? Everybody's afraid of AI.
And they shouldn't be, right? And I don't think they should be because we control AI. AI is programmed by humans, right? So it's what we're putting out and how we're using it. And I think we have to keep that in mind when we have these fear conversations. Is that we control the AI can't do anything without us putting in the information, you know?
True, true. And I guess from the way that your content is created and the way as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I would receive it, I have total control over how I share it,
Hmm.
right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Over the content.
So that gives you the extra confidence, I would have to say, in being able to ensure that you're bridging the gap, right?
Correct. And you know what? There's two ways, right? Because when I was building the platform, I wanted the brands to capture all the content in one place and be able to share it however they want to, whether it's on your website, social media, for proposals. But I also wanted the element of your biggest advocates being able to share it seamlessly as well. So if you want them to amplify
Ah.
your brand, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, giving them the power to amplify your brand in that way is also a key that we really wanted to.
Wow. Now, I never thought of that connectivity, because now you've almost got like three-way participation. You've
Mhm.
got the business owner, you've got the brand advocate, and
Mhm.
each of them then can share with their target market, which is only going to, it's like that, the rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
And so on effect. It
Yeah.
just will amplify. And especially if someone might be a thought leader
Mhm.
and have a lot of connections,
Yeah,
right? That's a wonderful way to sort of expand your reach into
yeah.
another target market.
And you know what? Even if they don't have a big audience, right? You never know who they're connected with and who's
That's
gonna love
true.
what you're building, right? So don't limit yourself. And I think that's when it comes to like the influencer space, is that micro influencers are awesome because they're small, but they're super engaged and their audience are really looking at what they're posting, right? So don't take your customers' audience for granted. They might have some of your next customers in their following. They might not be big influencers, but they want to support what you're building, you know?
I love the term micro influencer. I hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah,
So, how would you describe a micro influencer? I mean, we always think of influencers as, they have huge reach. There's lots of brands that they may support on their social media. But
yeah.
what's a micro influencer really? Does it mean just fewer connections?
It means fewer connections. They might have 1,000 to 5,000 or 10,000 followers. So they're not your million, 50,000.
Right,
Their community is really small, but the thing is that their community is more engaged.
right. It's
So
a
they have
niche market.
it's a niche market. So people are really paying attention to what they're posting, what they're eating, what products they're wearing. So I think that's like a really good sweet spot because when it comes to influencing an audience, it's really about engagement and it's not about how many followers that you have, you know?
That's a really great point, because I think when we're working alone in isolation and we're coming up with all these great marketing ideas and we're sharing content, but we're not getting the engagement we feel that we should get, or
Mhm.
we're not getting the comments, from it doesn't mean that folks are not looking at your posts.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of silent followers. They're paying attention. They might not say anything, right? But that's what I
Yeah.
always tell entrepreneurs, keep on going. right? Like,
Right.
don't give up just because you're not getting likes and follows, because you never know who's paying attention. And maybe you have a silent engagement community, right? But maybe your sales are still up because they're still going on your website and buying from you or buying your services. So you can't, it's like a facade a little bit. You can't really you
Right. Right.
put all your eggs in that basket.
And you can't be 100% committed to just
Social.
engagement, yeah, and to social, exactly, because email lists are still really important too. I would think.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I know so many startups or businesses that might have like 20 followers on Instagram, but they're making millions of dollars a year, right? So you cannot, it's kind of like a fake mirror a little bit. You can't really leverage
Yeah.
your success on social. Like you mentioned, the email campaigns, that's the number one money maker is
Mm.
if you have leads, you have money in your pocket, right? Because you have the direct connection with a community that might be able to leverage what you do, you know?
That's an important point because I think the sales pipeline and filling that funnel with prospects is just as important as what drops out the bottom in terms of sales, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So every entrepreneur almost needs to know the formula of how many folks do you need to put into your sales funnel in
Mhm.
order to what's your closure rate, right? In
Mhm,
order to
mhm.
get the sales. So
Yeah.
really important and valuable marketing information, Chynna, that you've shared with us today. That's really that you've given us a lot to think of. I know for me, I'm sitting here, my brain is whirling because I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of really great information here that this young lady has shared. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you for giving me the platform to share. I really appreciate
Now,
it.
one of the things that we do in our guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. So,
Okay.
what I'd like you to do, and a way to wrap up our conversation today, is your 3 words are embrace the pivots. So,
Yeah.
give our viewing and listening audience a reason as to why those 3 words are important to you.
You know, as an entrepreneur, you have to be resilient and things are going to come your way, right? And you really have to be open to change because an idea that you had initially might not be the idea that's really going to work for you. So being
Right.
able to really pay attention to the market, listen to your customers, and know when you might have to change and pivot, I think is the best thing you can have as a founder because I had to pivot during the pandemic, and I think that was the best pivot I've ever had in my life, right? It's because I was open to it. And a lot
Right.
of times we're so stuck on our idea, we think it's the best that we're like, oh no, like, this is gonna work. And then you're missing out on so many opportunities. So I always tell people, please embrace, do not be scared of the pivot, embrace it, embrace change, because it might be the money maker or the best thing for you.
Well, you've given us so much really wonderful information, Chynna, and I'm actually really thrilled that you're going to be our guest speaker at our February networking event. So we're interested in sharing your learnings with the video with the folks in our platform on a more intimate level. So thank you so much. We're really looking forward to that February event.
Yes, well, I'm super excited just to share some gems because you never know what can resonate with, the
Absolutely.
founder. So thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Oh, my absolute pleasure. You, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, introducing you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Chynna's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series. And if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online and subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.